Welcome here to an all-new edition of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. You know Great Lakes Honda City is your home for your new and used vehicles here in central and upstate New York. And here with me today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in this special, it is my honor and my privilege to have Aaron Hackett, a good friend of mine that I've known for a very long time. We met when he came to my hometown of Syracuse, New York, to play tight end. I can say whatever I want to say. He could sit there on the screen. He can make facial responses. He can laugh or stay serious, but I'm going to say what I need to say. When the man got the ball thrown his way, he caught it more times than he didn't. When they found him in the red zone, he was a touchdown machine. Was he utilized enough? No. Was he thrown to enough? No. Did he have enough chances to show out everything that he can do? No. But the consistency that he had, the level of work that he put in, and the fact that we got this Florida guy to come all the way up and spend some time in Syracuse, New York, is an absolute privilege. If that didn't happen, I would have never met him. And he is one of my favorites to come through my hometown. He's always been good to me, and I'm all about relationships. So with that being said, the tight end that should have had way more touchdowns, Aaron Hackett, here with us this morning, Director of Athlete Relations for Postgame, and we're going to have an NIL conversation that you won't want to miss a second of. Aaron, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for bringing back the glory days. I still got the jersey posted up here on the times I did get the ball. So I love having it, and can't say enough good things about the Syracuse Orange community and the fan base while I was up there. As you said, being a Florida kid to going to upstate New York, definitely a change of scenery. But I felt at home from day one. Great people like you, so much appreciated.
I appreciate that very much. And, the last time I saw you walking on Marshall Street, and you walked up, and I was with my buddy Isaac Elford, who works here on Wake Up Call with me as well. And I don't forget these moments because, like I said, relationships mean a lot to me. And so we were walking down the street, and I saw you, and we started talking. And I said, "Can we take a picture?" And I didn't even say it. You said, "I got to take a picture with my guy." So I appreciate that. You obviously came to see me too when I was in Orlando doing my week of broadcasts of college football and the NFL. And so I just want to say thank you for not only our friendship, but the fact that you are who you say you are, and that you've driven to see me, you've gone out of your way to see me, and you always make it a point to stay connected with me. And the people that show up are the people that mean the most. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Absolutely, yeah, man. That's the last time I've been in Syracuse. So looking to head back this year and see some franchise football.
Absolutely. So, as we get into this world of the NIL, for people that don't know, how did you get connected with Postgame and become the director of athlete relations?
Yeah, it's obviously Syracuse is a great university for sports management. I went to David Falk School of Sports Management, so got a great education on that. But my journey here, started when the company was brand new and the NIL space had really just gotten started. There was limited NIL activities going on right when I got in here. There was the DJU and the Dr. Pepper commercial. But brands really hadn't fully utilized the channel of NIL, and especially working with athletes at scale. And so I've been here 2.5 years now, and just seeing the growth of the industry from brands, using these athletes from, I guess, what NIL was intended for true marketing purposes, and helping them get a return on that.
And for you coming to Postgame, like you said, over 2 years ago, why is Postgame different? I mean, you could go to look up Postgame right now, go to home.pstgm.com. I'm on here right now in the studio. I'm taking a look at it. It says the leading full-service influencer marketing agency in sports. Break that down for me. Why is Postgame the leading full-service influencer marketing agency in sports?
Yeah, I think when NIL first passed, brands really didn't know how to activate in the space. Maybe they were able to partner with 1 to 2 big name athletes, traditional sports marketing. But when NIL passed, they really opened up a new marketing channel for all these brands to work with athletes at scale that had never happened before. So pre NIL, brands wanted to work with athletes. You were limited to professional, the NBA, WNBA, or Olympics, which peak and valley every 4 years. But it's really expensive to work at scale. And with the different PA rights Unless you're a league partner, you're limited to how many athletes you could work with. And when NIL passed, it gave the brands opportunity to work at scale with 50, 100, even 1,000, had 1,000 athletes post combined in brand campaigns last week alone for us. So it's really a brand new digital marketing channel for brands to get different voices heard all across the country. And as you know, like these athletes are regional heroes. So the ones, although they might not be known nationally, Syracuse lives and breathes Syracuse Orange, and the stars of the town there are very influential. And so giving brands access to those and those communities has been really strong. And kind of just, I guess what separates us apart is, we truly are full service. So we do everything from A to Z, whether it's the strategy for brands and what they want to do to college athletics, all
Yeah.
the way down to creating the content, doing brand purpose campaigns, to paying the athletes, doing the 1099s, helping them navigate the space and make sure they stay eligible. So we really are that hand with the brand to help walk them through working with college athletes, especially doing it at scale.
And when you look at what Postgame does and the clientele, we look at Adidas, Hollister, Giorgio Armani, Ticketmaster, CVS, Allstate, McDonald's, Gillette, Flamin' Hot, Urban Outfitters, Hey Dude, Crocs, Ruffles, DKNY, Taco Bell, Cricket, Izod, so on and so forth. How does this come about? How did these companies link with Postgame and Postgame with the student athlete? Essentially, how are you the bridge between the brand and the student athlete?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, former athlete myself, so I always like to explain it from an athlete lens, right?
Yeah.
And so, for on the athlete side, we're a free to use app for athletes to partner with brands all across the country. So, Aaron Hackett, Syracuse tight end, downloads the Postgame app. He inserts his social media measurables and his following handle, everything like that. And from there, can see different brand opportunities. And what we do, which is a little bit different than most, is we work with national brands who are scaled across the country. And so it gives, Aaron Hackett, who traditionally wouldn't be able to get an Adidas deal or a Stanley deal by himself, but grouped in with other athletes at scale, becomes more valuable for a brand. So from the athlete side, it's 100% free to use. That's why athletes love working with us. And, we've worked with everyone in the country, all the way from, Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, all the way down to, a D2 field hockey player at Lemoyne, who most people out of the Syracuse community probably haven't heard of. And so it gives the brands a lot of different variability when they want to work with athletes. From the brand side, you said earlier, we're truly full service. So we help brands with all the strategy and execution in working with college athletes. I was in that locker room. I'm an athlete myself, so I try to translate that to the brands of it's not like working with influencers. Athletes need a little bit more help, and they need help on the content creation and strategy side. What's great about them is that if you can get their stories told, they're very authentic and influential, especially to the people who are looking up to them. So a great way for brands to target Gen Z in a younger consumer. But there to work and guide brands with not only what they should do in college athletics, but who they should work with and how it should look when it comes to light.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the brands that you have connections with, these national brands, international brands, when a student athlete downloads the post game app and they put in their measurables, what if they don't have social media and they're just getting into it? What if they don't have as much as a following? What if they're a really good player, but they didn't have the money and the access and the opportunity to go out to a bunch of different events? What if they're a quarterback that never got to go to the Elite 11? How how can this space at post game help a student athlete that maybe doesn't have as many followers or maybe doesn't exactly utilize social media as much?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I love about our platform is that there's really opportunities for everyone. So people think NIL, and especially in the marketing sponsorships, they think of the highest level, right? Like
Yeah.
Arch Manning doing something with Red Bull. But the great thing about what we've built is that not only are those opportunities available through the platform to top level athletes, but you don't have to have 100,000 followers, or you can still be growing and building your brand, and we'll give you opportunities to work with true brands. And so obviously the valuation is heavily determined on not only your social media following but what you do on the court or on the field as well. So there's influence in that, and I would say a lot of it is an art more than a science. People try to break it down of trying to navigate an athlete's individual NIL value or how much he could be worth, but it truly is dependent on the market they're in, what their social media looks like, and their engagement of their audience. So It varies quite, and that's kind of what we hang our hat on, is helping brands curate this list of talent that fits their brand and also performs well through their digital media channels.
So when they go into the app and they put in their information, what does it send them back? Does it tell them like these are the brands that would work with you at the level that you're at right now? And then is there another conversation? Like let's say they're a really big fan of McDonald's. They never eat Taco Bell, but the app tells them like, hey, Taco Bell would be really good. And then they turn around and say, yeah, well, I don't really eat there. Like I don't feel right promoting it. Like I'd like to promote something else. Like how much of it is a conversation of customizable to the individual? Is it here's my information, here are your brands, or is there a conversation with the student athlete of like here are the brands that are available? Because like I'm a very honest person. I can't work with a company that I don't use, that I don't promote, that I don't spend money at. So how does that kind of work in to it? The honesty of the branding, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And that's kind of how we build out the process the way it is that, an athlete downloads an app and they can see the different brand campaigns that are available for them. And we do an opt-in process, which is basically raising your hand and say, hey, this is a brand I'm interested in working with, or this is a brand I'm not. And if it's not, they don't opt in. And from there, we'll take the list of athletes who have raised their hand and said they're interested in partnering with this brand, and we'll help curate that list down to, again, whatever the brand's key priorities are. And so we've launched a campaign and with 48 hours had over 5,000 athletes apply through the app. That's a lot of scale and a lot of volume, so not all of them will get picked. But through that list, we know we have a list of authentic, athletes who actually want to promote this product. Because I'm like you, if it's not authentic and it doesn't fit the athlete, the content's not going to turn out well. It's not going to perform well with our audience. It
Right.
needs to be something that's true to them. And we've had athletes like that where hey, I just actually just don't drink energy drinks, so this drink might not be, or I don't eat fast food, so McDonald's may not be authentic to me. And that's kind of why we have the opt-in process the way it is to make sure the athletes show interest beforehand.
Yeah, and when you have these brands, how does Postgame link up with the brands themselves? How I mean, I read off a bunch of them. They're on your website. How do the brands connect to you? Does Postgame reach out and say, "Hey, you know, McDonald's, we want to have some NIL opportunities in the space. Are you interested in doing something like that?" I mean, how do you find these businesses? How do the businesses attach to Postgame itself in order to have these opportunities for the student athletes? The relationship has to be there with these brands and Postgame. So how does Postgame create relationships with these brands, Urban Outfitters, CVS, Allstate, so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's been 3 years of really hard work, honestly, and continuing to grow our brand so that everything attached to us is something that another brand may see and say, "Wow, that's really interesting. I may want to work with college athletes." Right? Nowadays, with it being a digital consumable society where everyone's on their phone at all times and brands are spending millions of dollars in ad budget through Instagram and TikTok, this content has become more valuable. And the nature of college athletes is, especially regionally, they're very influential. So, star player at Syracuse at the time they're there, although he may not be known nationally, if you target that Syracuse audience, he's a recognizable face and his content will probably perform really well. And so, some of it is, outreach to different brands, but I think now more than ever, as brands are seeing some of the work we're doing with partners like Adidas, holistic programs that aren't just one-off athlete partnerships, but more, hey, this is your brand strategy and what you should be doing in college athletes, and let us help you execute it. And if you do it, it can be a very impactful marketing channel. So I think brands have seen that. And then, another thing I've done just since I started here is we send out so many, and I know this sounds crazy, but so many T-shirts, hats, hoodies to college athletes all across the country because we tell any athlete who downloads the app, we'll give you your first NIL opportunity. Even if you've got 200, 500 followers, you can be part of a post-game campaign. And we'll use this as a way. We tell all these athletes, at some point you had to try out, right, to make your team or try out in front of a coach to get scouted. It's the same thing with us. Use this post-game T-shirt campaign as a tryout. It allows us to filter out like who are really good natural content creators or who's going to be that next, Livy Dunn or TikTok star, right? Who their social media is so large that there's value in that. So a lot of things we do. Personally, one of my favorite ones is sending these hats and T-shirts all across the country and letting athletes be creative with the content. And a lot of these athletes take those NIL deals a lot more seriously than your Cooper Flag, who's got brands just throwing themselves at them, and he's got his options of choice, and these athletes though probably don't have a whole lot of choice, and so it's something they really want to do, and giving them an option to actually be part of NIL and experience it from a true marketing lens.
So my question is, where's my hat? Where's my shirt at?
I gotta get your sizes, man. We changed the logo. I would have brought you some in Orlando last time I saw you, but yeah, we'll get a care package up there.
Yeah, we got to do that. And
I gotta come back to a game this year so I can give it to you in person.
yeah, you definitely do. Well, I'll tell you this: Syracuse, I spoke with the scheduling side of things when it comes to the ACC and putting the schedule together for all 17 of their member schools when it comes to football. And in putting that together, and that opportunity is timeless, and I'll share it again with everybody so that they can see it. But the timeless conversation that I got to have about the assembly of the schedule and what goes into it and how does it all happen and all of those elements, I asked the ACC, why did you do this to Syracuse? At Clemson, at Miami, at SMU, and they're already playing at Notre Dame this season. So it's going to be a very interesting season. It's going to be a very challenging season, but you definitely have to make your way up to a game or two here, and there's a lot to be had in the grand scheme of things when it comes to this season. I mean, the home schedule is not as crazy as the road schedule, but you definitely got to find your way to a game, or we could just go down to Miami.
I'll be down there for that. That's a short drive. And correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have the opening Aflac kickoff game? Where's that? In Atlanta versus Tennessee?
The Aflac kickoff game is where I ended the season. I was at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Atlanta, Georgia, and the season will start in the same stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it's Syracuse, Tennessee is going to be the first game, and then Virginia Tech, South Carolina. So there's two Aflac kickoff games. Syracuse is the first. It's going to be on a Saturday in August to kick off the season.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, I'm very excited, very much looking forward to that and to the opportunity. And I also owe you a care package because Wake Up Call, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and all of the shows that I have, we launched our own website of merchandise, and it's cool because it's customizable. So you could pick your shirt, pick your hat, pick your sweatshirt, pick whatever you want, and then choose the logo. So you want our Entertainment Superpowered Pop logo on your shorts, and you want our Wake Up Call on your shirt, and you want our Dance to Our Broadcast Media that I'm wearing right now on your hoodie. And then we have our quote, God bless, no stress, do your best. So I'm going to have to get you some stuff, and we'll have to do a jersey swap.
Love it. Yeah, jersey swap in Atlanta. Let's do it.
I love that. So here with Aaron Hackett, Syracuse Orange tight end alum and director of athlete relations for Postgame in this name, image, and likeness space. So I'm a student athlete. I jump into this thing. Yeah, I download the app. The app is free. I put in my measurables. I put in my information. And then does the app instantaneously kick me back opportunities and brands, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's based on whatever's available at the time. So if there's a national campaign going on that's filtered to any college athlete across the country, they'll be able to opt in right away. If it's maybe it's basketball only and they're looking for athletes who are selected in March Madness, only those athletes will be shown the tile in the app and be able to opt in. So it's really filtered on whatever the brand's looking for at the time. But yeah, had a lot of great Syracuse athletes and campaigns, and again, helping athletes navigate the true marketing side of this. Because I think NIL now is really split into two buckets. You've got your compensation for going and playing football that's coming from the collective and very soon they're coming directly from the university. And then you have true brand marketing dollars, which are coming from brands and, have a little more ask behind them, whether it be, posting on social media or showing up to an event, signing autographs, whatever that marketing side is, more of that true NIL.
And like you talk about the true NIL, we hear about the crazy deals, right? We hear about Shedeur Sanders and $5 some odd million, and we hear about, $6.6 million for Arch Manning and this. But the mega deals that we see out there that are going on, this to me is an opportunity when you talk about post game that you're trying to get as many student athletes involved as possible, and you're putting them in the branding that each of these companies have. The company has, this is what we're going for, this is what we're doing. And so, we're Dick's Sporting Goods, and we're going to do NCAA tournament stuff, and we want all the teams that are in the Sweet 16. Any one of those teams can opt in right now. That's what we want to focus on, because we're gonna just be sending out commercials, and they're going to be airing on CBS and TNT and whatnot during this. There's that piece of it that you're doing, but so many times we just hear about the big mega individual deal, like the student athlete has an agent, or the student athlete is their own agent, and they're just going to the car dealership and the dealership's doing the deal. Why is it better to do it through Postgame than to simply just go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to represent myself, and I'm going to try to hit $1 million with one company?
Yeah, I mean, just speaking from like national brands perspective, right? As a single athlete, it's really hard to go ink a deal by yourself with an Adidas, right? Or a Hollister or a CVS, whatever that may be. It's hard to go get a one-off long-term partnership. And honestly, a lot of those deals are more inbound than outbound, right? So as a student athlete reaching out, you can reach out to 1,000 brands a day. The ones that are going to reply to you are very few and far between, because as a one-off, many of these athletes, just as a single person, might not be that impactful, but the ability to scale with it and work with 500 or 1,000 different athletes now makes you more valuable, and it makes it a lot more valuable for brands. So, we help on all fronts. We help athletes navigate everything NIL. So whether that be their marketing value or understanding their value for a collective, we help walk them through the process for all of that. And I'll pull up a Dino Babers quote, but knowledge is power. And he used to hone that in over and over. And that is really true in this space of coming out as a high school kid or in a transfer portal. You need to have someone who has some references of numbers and evaluation. If you don't, then you're just out there guessing blind. And with the amount of money that's going to student athletes nowadays, you could miss out on hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're not properly represented. So I would say that that's definitely a reason athletes choose to work with us. The other part is like we never charge an athlete a fee. So unlike a traditional agent who may take 20% of a marketing deal or 30%, we get compensated by the brands. Brands pay us a management fee. So athletes who are getting paid for post game, they're getting 100% of what they're promised. We don't take a commission. We do work with agents all the time, especially with the higher profile athletes, and the compensation between the athlete and the agent is up to them, but they're getting whatever they're promised through post game.
So they're not paying it. There's no fee to them, which is huge. You said the brand pays you. Are you, to go a little bit deeper into a question I asked before, are you seeking the brand? So like, are you as post game, and I know you're the director of athlete relations, so you're dealing with the athlete, but are there people within post game itself that are tasked with trying to build relationships with companies? Because you said it's been a lot of hard work over, a long period of time, these last 3 years. How is Allstate working with Postgame? Is there a department within Postgame where their job is to call and like I would do for my company and say, hey, this is what I am, this is what I do, we would love to work with you? Are they building that bridge with Allstate and then saying to Allstate, like, hey, do you know about the NIL space? We'd love to work with you. This is what we have at our disposal. These are the different things that we do. We take care of all of the content and the creation of the content. We just want to work with you. And then do they sign the deal after you reach out to them? Just to understand a little bit better how an Allstate works with Postgame in order to work with the student athlete. Because you did it from the student athlete side, but how do these companies connect to Postgame? Is there a department that is essentially tasked to cold call these businesses and try and get them to work within the NIL space?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we have a great team who works on brand outreach and outbound stuff. Even some stuff that I've done, just being here as one of the original partners and being here basically since day one, is reaching out to new brands who we've either seen activate in NIL or look like they'd be a great fit. So Allstate's a perfect example of they've been doing the AFCA Good Works team for the last 10, 15 years, whatever it may be. But with the emergence of NIL, they can now partner with student athletes to help promote the team. So last year they picked 22 college football athletes who are all recognized for their charitable efforts through the AFCA. And Postgame's task was not only to contract these athletes, but also to go do the creative storytelling behind them. So think of Nick Dawkins, the center at Penn State, right? Being able to tell the story of his charity and him giving back through the season. You know, all these different athletes have a different cause that's important to them, and we're nominated by the university and the AFCA to share that. And so Allstate will come to us not only to contract athletes, but to help tell these stories. We have a full creative team to where we're able to get out in front of these athletes and do photo shoots, video shoots, behind the scenes days of content that a brand, if they were doing it all by themselves, it would be very expensive and it would take a large bandwidth. But since we're so hyper focused in the college space and working with college athletes, not only do we have the network to connect with these athletes directly, but we have the processes that take place to make sure we can get great content and tell these athletes a story. So that the All-State program has been something we've really been proud of here. It recently just expanded to 22 other athletes. So outside of college football, it's college basketball players, gymnasts, everything like that, and that's gone live over the last week. And there'll be another round in the end of spring. So really great to see a brand recognize what athletes do off the court. And I think especially in this NIL, due to the different like collectives where athletes are required to go out and do community service and be in their community. We've seen some really great stories of athletes actually, taking an extra step forward and donating their own money and their own time to whatever their charitable efforts are and really giving back to the community.
Yeah, and that element of it, the one that doesn't get talked about a lot, giving back to the community, helping the community, doing different things. Some people look at the NIL space and say it's pay for play, and it's gonna be a negative effect on student athletes, and they're not going to care about school, and they're not going to care about this and that. But then you talk about community service. So with that being a part of it, with community service and care for the surrounding area as an element, what can you say to that effect to essentially work to dispel the notion that there are no positives to NIL besides money?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, even on the brand side, has been educating brands too, of like their perception of NIL isn't just paying the biggest name athletes an exorbitant amount of money. But actually, if you do this right, it can be an affordable content engine that you can use on your social media and build a digital marketing strategy around. You can hear the voices from a bunch of different backgrounds and a bunch of different audiences, and that's been really important. And just to dispel like everyone else, I mean, there's a lot going on between the House settlement upcoming and payments moving internally to athletes. But I think this is something that's been going on in the works for so long, and finally to a point where athletes can monetize off of all their hard work. I mean, I left Syracuse, after putting my body through hell, 2 knee surgeries, a torn pec, everything without a dollar in my pocket, and asked to actually pay for my last semester of school, which eventually, Syracuse was good enough to pay for. But I think guys now can, learn financial literacy early and help put themselves in a position to when they're done playing football that, they have a cushion to fall back on. They can take care of their parents. There's less stress worrying about, back home or what am I eating tonight because I only got a $2,000 stipend. So I think it's just given a lot more opportunity for athletes. And with that, it's also caused them to grow up earlier, right? And,
Yeah.
Understand financial literacy and understand commitment. And it's definitely changed. I mean, I'll be the first to say it. It's changed the dynamic in a college locker room for craziness. Besides a few guys here and there that left throughout my time in Syracuse, for the most part, I came in with my freshman class, and we all played there for 4 to 5 years together. And with NIL passing and everything like that, there's so much more fluidity in college rosters that you may go on with a kid and he may be an early enrollee and he's gone by the time the season starts, and then next season he can go somewhere completely else. So it's changed the dynamics completely in college, but I think it's given a lot of athletes opportunities that are well deserved.
So I'm a student athlete. I opt in. I put in all my information. I'm on the Postgame app, and I'm going to pick a company here. So Ticketmaster. So it comes up that, hey, Ticketmaster's got a campaign right now. Maybe you'd be good for this. And I put on the app like, yeah, I'm opting in. I'm all for it. Bring me through the process after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, totally full service for the brand. So once we get that list, that Ticketmaster was a college football campaign, specifically with college football athletes across the country promoting Ticketmaster for their upcoming games. And so from there, we'll take the list of every athlete who's opted in, plus a little bit of curation. Maybe there's athletes who aren't on our app or their agent submitted them. And we'll take that list and we'll go with the brands and whatever locations and type of athletes they're looking for, we'll help curate that list from them. So once that list is curated and we have a list of, I think that campaign was 50 or so athletes, then we'll actually go to that execution stage, which is, one, getting these athletes in contracts, contract negotiation with their athletes, making sure everything's signed. Then we'll go to the content creation phase where, where these athletes are meeting with their videographers, whether it be on a college campus or an off day, or they film it on their phone, whatever the brand looks for. And then from there, we'll help the athletes post through their channels, as well as help brands delegate different ad spend to these different pieces of content. So Alabama's playing a big game. They're playing Georgia leading up, right? The news cycle we know starts to pick up on about a Tuesday or Wednesday. So we'll strategically start placing ad budget through there. We know ticket sales peak on a Thursday or Friday, right? So those Thursday and Friday, we'll put more money in the ads manager to help try to boost ticket sales in that exact area. And then from there, once it's done, again, do all the reporting of the athlete's social metrics as well as like paying them, because that's the first thing all the guys ask is when am I getting paid? So we'll handle all that, and then at the end of the year, dealing with 1099s and different tax information for the athletes as well.
So you say that you don't charge a student athlete anything to utilize the service, and the brands pay post game, so post game can continue to do what you do, and then the brands pay the student athletes. So how does that work when you make a deal with Crocs? Does Crocs say, "Hey, post game, we're going to pay you this amount of money yearly. Like, we're going to agree that it's going to be $10,000 that we're going to give to you to do your work." So Crocs, 10 grand, it's going to be 10 grand. And then the student athletes we sign on, we're going to give each of them $1,000 to do this one campaign. So we're going to pay you 10 grand no matter what. We're going to pay them $1,000 a piece. How does that component work of it? Because post game's got to exist, right? And then the student athletes got to get paid. So how does this all work out? Is it like a yearly fee that these companies that say, "Hey, we believe what Postgame is doing, we believe in what you guys have, so we're going to opt in"? So the McDonald's opts in, Crocs opts in, Urban Outfitters opts in, and they pay you a certain amount yearly, and they either pay you up front or they pay you by month, and then they pay the student athletes as the campaigns arise. I mean, how does the business model kind of work into how post game gets paid and how the student athlete gets paid?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's totally free for the college athletes to use. So we never take a dollar out of their pocket. Dan, we'll promise you $1,000 for a Croc deal. You get $1,000 for a Croc deal, and you're getting paid directly through the app. For the brands, it really does vary. More and more brands are starting to put us on retainers for yearly long, where it's a guaranteed ad spend of X number of dollars, and we're getting paid off of that. And we also see brands investing in, which I think the most important thing of this all is content creation. So brands willing to pay for an enhanced media service, to where we're actually getting videographers out in front of college athletes, helping them create the content, fully post-producing it and editing it, so to make sure it's something that the brands can use organically on their channel, but also can use in paid advertising. So we do it all, and all different levels of it too, all the way up from we just shot 4 brand campaigns for Adidas to where they're using it in the main Adidas basketball channel, and it's getting shown to over 5 million people a day, all the way down to the smallest, which is maybe a Lemoyne field hockey player who's posting on our TikTok and tagging a brand for a free product. So it varies all those different levels, and yeah, depending on how much we're doing on the creative side, depends on how much the brand management fee is.
And so those deals that are done with these businesses, post game has to prove to the business, right? They have to show to the business why you should use them, because they might do an ad buy with an internet show, they might do it with a YouTube channel, they might do it with traditional TV, traditional radio, billboards. So you're working into their advertising budget. How do you do that? How is that sell when you say to them, "Hey, instead of buying 10 more billboards down I-4, work with us"?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's part of the sales process is that brands have steadily invested more in influencer marketing year over year. The creator economy is going to grow to, I think, something like $4 billion by the end of 2027. And brands are really seeing true results through social media, live experiential events, everything like that, versus maybe some more traditional marketing. I think specifically in athletics too, being able to tell a story or use the athletes channel to promote your product is something that's much stronger than maybe just putting signage on a game or whatever, because you're getting the authentic voice to promote it for you. So, hearing from Aaron Hackett talking about Syracuse football from his channel is a lot more impactful than maybe, just having your um, brand on the side of the Carrier Dome that gets flashed on ESPN every once in a while. And so,
Yeah.
what we pitch to brands all the time is that if you work with traditional influencers, you should look at working with college athletes because there's a niche for every single one of them. There's college athletes who are beauty creators. There's college athletes who are fitness creators. There's college athletes who are just athletes. But you can normally hit a lot of these different niches of what they're looking to target. And naturally, athletes have a much higher engagement than their traditional audience of an influencer. So athletes may have an engagement rate anywhere from 5 to 7%, where traditional influencers typically 1 to 3%. And so we've seen with these athletes' channels on their social that their audience is actually a lot more engaged than like a traditional influencer.
When I bet on myself and became my own brand well before all this happened, before influencers, before name, image, and likeness, before all this stuff, I'm sitting here saying to myself, I'm happy I got ahead of it, Aaron. So, but looking at this world that we're all in here now with name, image, and likeness, is it a year-round thing? Like if I'm a college basketball player, am I only getting NIL opportunities on the app during the season or leading into the season? Or in the middle of June, could I be doing something for Adidas?
Yeah, it definitely peaks and valleys. So I'd say that there's like opportunities always for athletes, but the time when we see the most activity is around championship events. So whether that be college football playoff or
Well, I think we lost Aaron here for a second. Let's see if we can bring him back in. He's talking about the college football playoff. Let's see. Oh, Aaron, so you said college football
yeah,
playoff. We lost you for a sec.
I saw myself.
Saw you freeze here for a second. He's frozen again. So let's see if we can unfreeze Mr. Hackett and talk to him here about what he was talking about here with the promotional side of things for the college football playoff, as well as what's going on here. So go from where you were at. Speaking of the college football playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that. Must be our Wi-Fi. But yeah, I was gonna say like time periods when brands activate around college athletes, it definitely peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And I think brands see an increased amount of engagement around these championship events. So Derek Queen, for example, hit that game winner last night. His most recent post was from a brand partner of ours, which is Stanley Water Bottles. And we saw the engagement go on his post last night from, I think it had 50,000 views to, I looked at it this morning and it has over 105,000 views, right? And that's because he hit a game winner and people are going to his page, whether it be to, congratulate him and say how much they love him as a Maryland fan, all the way to, you ruined my parlay, man, what's going
Yeah.
on? But we see that increased engagement around championship events and has been a really like strong activation channel for brands. Even going back to last year with like DJ Burns when he went on that Cinderella run. And we saw him have, on the sponsored post he did with us and Adidas, got over 1.5 million views and had, 100% engagement rate compared to his audience because people were so fascinated with his story and much more engaged with his social page. So we see an increase definitely around these championship events, but also all year long, athletes are still pretty relevant. People want to know, what their off-season training looks like, or like what it's like when they go back home, or just days in the locker room. So I think fans are interested in hearing, what these athletes do, maybe even outside of their sport. And athletes who are successful in kind of that creative storytelling are the ones, we see succeed the most, especially through our platform.
That coming here from Aaron Hackett, Director of Athlete Relations for Postgame, here in this name, image, and likeness space. Aaron, of everything that we talked about, is there an area on your mind that we haven't discussed that you would like to zero in on when it comes to postgame in the NIL space?
Yeah, I think it's been a super interesting 2.5, 3 years of, from NIL being completely outlawed to coming about with no laws and regulations. There's a House settlement that's coming up in April, which is supposed to, not only back pay billions of dollars to former college athletes like myself and let us get a piece of the pie that we were probably missing, but also, maybe change the dynamic of college athletes and athletics going forward in the future of schools can now direct pay athletes. They have a salary cap of just over $20 million that they can relegate to different athletes across different programs. And there's been a clearinghouse put in place to help determine true NIL deals and hopefully limit some of the collective deals that are coming through booster clubs. I'm a believer in that it's only just going to be more money spread throughout college athletics for the next year. I don't think these brand collectives are going away, and I think the brand marketing side of things is going to continue to grow. So really, no better time to be a college athlete. And with all the fluidity that there is across athletics and being able to transfer and everything like that, while you're losing some of those good old memories, on the athlete side, you're seeing, more hyper relevance. You're seeing more competitiveness, and as athletes, there's a lot more money going on. So, really a chance for athletes to make a substantial amount of money in their college times because not everyone gets to go play pro, and at some point you got to get a job. So, having a little bit of cushion, or even making generational wealth while you're in college gives these athletes just a brand new opportunity to start life and get a little bit of a head start.
And for you, post game, you talked about being a full service all the way through the process, and that's what makes it different. What else is it about your day to day at post game that you feel like when you put your head on the pillow at night that you're making a positive difference?
Yeah, I mean, I just love the storytelling aspect of a lot of stuff we're doing, and being able to dive deeper into athlete storytelling. A recent campaign that just launched throughout March Madness we did with Adidas is the Plus One Effect, and it's all about who is that person who's been through you with day one, who's helped supported you in the good, bad, and the ugly. And it really just made me, think back on my time as an athlete of that, whenever I was about to play a game, Mama Hackett would send me a text message, and it would be some sort of graphic of me playing football as a kid, right, with some inspirational quote over it. And
Yeah.
good, bad, whatever it is, like that made me feel like I was supported and loved. And every athlete has that story, that one person. So that's been a super cool campaign that we ran of diving deeper into some of this athlete storytelling. I have a chance to, travel and go to a lot of different games and visit a lot of different colleges. And there's so many athletes in college, and all of them have a story to tell, right? Everyone comes from a different background or went through their own struggles. So giving athletes a platform to, not only tell that story, but also monetize off it has been really cool. And then I'd say lastly is just like helping educate these athletes on their brand building and understanding that the time period that you're in college is short. But like you said, Dan, earlier, you got to have it and started building this brand on your own. And so for the athletes, everyone's going to hang up the cleats one day. The ball's going to stop bouncing, but your image and your public profile lasts forever. And being able to monetize that and understand that from a young age really helps these athletes in the future part of their life. So,
And two questions really quick before we get into rapid fire. The social media that you say on the website for postgame that works very well with these campaigns, Instagram and TikTok, why do you think those work so well? And are there other ones that you're diving into?
yeah, I think those are probably the most two engaged platforms of all of these athletes just because they're on Instagram a lot more and they're on TikTok. But athletes who have really set themselves apart have started like investing in the longer form content. So whether that be, dropping YouTube vlog days in the life, going into streaming, even doing podcasts, what we've seen is so successful. That brand building aspect for athletes continues to grow and, really bringing about new opportunities. So we primarily advertise on, TikTok and Instagram. We see the athletes who have the most success in building their personal brands are the ones who are, diving into starting a podcast with their teammates or starting a YouTube series, telling the day in the life and kind of giving a behind the scenes look. So it's definitely been cool to see and athletes continuing to grow their brand.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I was going to say to you, when it comes to someone who has spent over 20 years building his brand and doing it at a time where people weren't talking about this stuff and building a podcast and bringing my broadcasting skills to the internet and all of that, if there is a place and an opportunity for my company and Postgame to talk about how to educate and provide information, knowledge, wisdom, experience, and aid for these student athletes to have those podcasts, to have the day in the life, to be storytellers, that could be a unique way for you and I to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure any athlete would love to have your advice. And something I wish I probably had earlier because seeing how important that is. And I think that's something that schools and different football programs are starting to absorb now is the importance of brand building and virality, right? Even in the program. I love what Syracuse and Coach Fran Brown's doing with the spring game and just trying to be able to get out to Colorado. I mean, that place is a marketing machine and not only has the football program gotten better since Dion's been there, but the local economy in the school is just booming, right? Because they know how to market. Dion's a great marketer, and he knows how to bring a lot of eyeballs to the program, which helps bring, not only an increased revenue, but better recruits, better game to experience, everything like that. So I think Coach Brown's doing a great job of just understanding that, hey, like this is important. Not only is it going to help my team get better, but it's also going to help invest in the value of my players.
Yeah.
And I could see if that goes through, I mean, the marketing opportunities for a lot of those athletes to share what the first ever joint practice looks like, I think would be really strong and something brands would be willing to invest in.
Yeah. And you got a program that people are paying attention to because potentially 2 top 10 draft picks with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter this year. Aaron, we're going to jump into rapid fire. We've done it before. We'll do it again. You can ask me anything in the world. I am here with Syracuse Orange tight end alum number 89 and director of athlete relations for Postgame in the name, image, and likeness space, giving student athletes a full service opportunity to learn about becoming a brand, utilize their brand, and to have fun in their storytelling and make some money to help themselves, their family, and their future as they navigate who they are, why they are, and what they're seeking in life. So with that being said, what's your question for me?
I would ask you, Dan, like from a Syracuse perspective, what has been the perception of NIL from the fan base?
I think the majority of the fan base thinks that Syracuse is not utilizing it enough and that they don't have enough money. That seems to always be the conversation is like, Syracuse has to spend more, Syracuse has to do more. Why is this not working? And so the perception of the fan base, I think, is that they don't think that Syracuse is using it properly or that they know how to use it. I think when I did a conversation with Jesse Edwards, which I believe was an exclusive in that conversation, Jesse is an international player. He's from overseas. And when I spoke with Jesse, he decided to go in the transfer portal, decided to leave Syracuse. And they were told that international players couldn't do NIL because of their visa and because of their situation. And he saw other friends of his playing college basketball, and I believe it was college basketball. They were playing collegiately, and they were getting NIL deals at different schools. So he was looking at Syracuse like, okay, well, you're saying I can't do it because I'm an international player, but other international players that I'm friends with are doing it in this college space. So then it was kind of like, is Syracuse prepared to handle it internationally? And then he decided to leave. So, and he went to West Virginia. So for me, I think that the perspective is that Syracuse, a little bit behind the 8 ball right now, was not prepared, is not prepared. Where's the money coming from? How is the money going to get to these student athletes? Is there enough money and is there enough education? I think that's kind of where things are at. And that typically that's what I hear from the fan base is why are we not where we need to be, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to blame a lot of the losses, right, on just that, right? We don't have the NIL budget or we're not prepared. But I think nowadays too, like coaching still plays such an importance to everything. You could buy the best roster across in America, and you saw that with, Indiana team this year, who probably had one of the biggest bankrolls in college sports and still didn't make March Madness.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's definitely twofold. I'd ask you though, Dan, one NIL deal, dream deal, what would it be for you?
I've gotten to do a lot of great things, and I believe I know I'm just getting started. I would say if I could, oh man, probably 2 that come to mind. Under Armour and like putting my logo and all my stuff on Under Armour clothing because I love Under Armour. And I would want to have my own sneaker. So I would think either Nike or Under Armour to make my sneaker. I would say Under Armour for my clothes. And I would say a partnership with Walt Disney World.
Yeah, get you some free tickets next time you're down here in Orlando.
Yeah, I definitely put that out there. Okay, you got one more question for me since you've been so great about mine. You got one more to put me on the hot seat for. What is it?
Okay. last one. I need a men's and women's March Madness winner. Who is it on the bracket? Are they, I mean, they got to be left.
Yeah. So I really wanted to see St. John's do it this year. And they had their worst shooting day, maybe the entire season, 28%. So my other team, there's only two teams I thought of in men's basketball this year. There's only two teams on my mind when it came to who do you think is going to make it. And that was St. John's and Duke. So I will stick with Duke, and I'll stick with Cooper Flagg, who hails from Maine. And I'm going to say Duke because they're still left. And then on the women's side, I picked South Carolina to win it all. So I'm going to believe in Dawn Staley, as I have before. And I'm going to believe in John Shire, who I've had the absolute pleasure of talking with multiple times. And I'd like to see former Syracuse player Malik Brown win a championship. So I'm going to say Duke, and I'm going to say South Carolina.
I love it. I got South Carolina on the women's, and I got University of Florida. They had a close one against UConn yesterday, but
yeah. So you got not bad, not a bad choice. We'll see what happens here. All number one's still alive. So with that being said, Aaron Hackett here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Check out Postgame. Go on to your social media. Look them up. Student athletes, check out the app. And Aaron, any information that you want student athletes to know, well, I got you.
I would just say, hey, don't be afraid to go out and try stuff. Download the app. You never know how far you could take it, even post career. So when the game ends, post game begins, download the app.
I love that. When the game ends, post game begins, download the app. What a great way to say it. Elevator pitch. Aaron Hackett, and of course here on Wake Up Call inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Thank you, sir, as always, for your time. And you know I appreciate your friendship more than anything.
Always. Thank you, Dan. It's always a pleasure.